Hello and welcome to this new episode of Bootstrapping Your Dreams Show. I'm your host Manuj Aggarwal, and today we are going to have a very interesting conversation with Rob Angel, who is the inventor of Pictionary. Pictionary, which I'm sure you most of you have enjoyed a game or two of. So Rob is an entrepreneur, explorer, investor, philanthropist, and sought after speaker on a mission to help others create their own success and best life by taking their first small step. Rob invented the phenomenally successful and iconic board game Pictionary, which was self published in his tiny apartment in 1985 from using his college worn Merriam Webster's paperback dictionary, a number two pencil, and a yellow legal pad to create his first Pictionary word list, to putting together the first 1,000 games by hand in his tiny apartment, licensing the game around the world. Rob and his partners would go on to sell 50 million copies of the game in 60 countries before selling Pictionary to Mattel in 2001. Rob has documented all his experiences in the book called Game Changer, where he explains how he turned the one simple idea into the best-selling board game in the world. His philosophy is OPEN, open to grab all the life that puts in front of you. He believes you can find your passion, your dream, and your most successful life. From running with the bulls to swimming with the sharks and parachuting out of airplanes, Rob seeks out adventure wherever he goes. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you for having me. How are you today?
Good, good. So you've had a tremendously successful career and Pictionary, which is known world over. So let's start there. Let's go into that tiny apartment and walk us through how did this idea come about and what was your life like when you were inventing this amazing game.
Oh my. We're talking 1982. I was a 23-year-old waiter. And that was my job. I wasn't a game inventor, wasn't a business guy. And I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And that was kind of always the gig. I didn't want to work for anybody else. And so I was always looking for an opportunity. Moved in with three buddies after college. And one of my roommates said, "Do you want to play a game of charades on paper?" Sure, why not, right? It was a game. I wasn't looking for an opportunity to build a game. It was just an opportunity to have fun, because not all great ideas start with a big plan. It was like, okay. We started playing this game. We stay up all night, and then the next night, and the next night. And I started thinking this would make a good board game. And I kind of just realized recently that it was a board game because that's what the technology of the day was. People say, do you always want to be a game inventor? No. But that was the technology. Now it would have been an app creator. So that's what it was. And so what I thought was, how can I have the fun, this energy, this excitement of playing this game with my friends? How can I package that? Not how can I make a game, right? Pictionary isn't a game. It was an emotion for me. How can I package the emotion? And so from that, I started working on it. And there was fits and starts, shall we say. I never got started right away. We could talk about was the mindset that I was in, or as we say, not in at the moment.
That's great. And so this idea of you having fun and having other people go through the similar experience, how did that come? Because most people are, let's face it, we are all selfish. Like, we have fun. We say, oh, I had a fun game with my friend, and that's the end of it, right? We move on. And so how did this notion of sharing that fun with others came about?
Well, it was what we were doing, and I couldn't get started because I couldn't figure it out. Right? I'm not a game inventor. I'm not a business guy. I don't have the skills. All this negative self-talk, but I couldn't get over it. Right? Okay. It's like getting out of the shower and you have this wonderful idea, and by the time you're done drying your hair, the idea is gone. But there's a philosophy, and I kind of believe it, that the idea you had is going to somebody, right? It's going out there. And so I kept talking about this idea, and I couldn't shake it. And so I knew I had to get started, because it was like, not the fear of failure, the fear of what if? What if I didn't do it? What if I didn't get started? That overrode the fear of failure. I was okay with failing. I wasn't okay not getting started. So the touch tone was, and the aha moment was, I wanted to put words into the game, because that was the common denominator. Couldn't figure it out. So I had a tangible physical thing. Well, remember Trivial Pursuit?
Uh-huh.
I see Trivial Pursuit and the words on the cards. Oh, put words on the cards. That's how I make Pictionary. And then nothing happened.
Yeah.
I mean, I panicked. Self-doubt, all these things, all these excuses basically of why not to get started.
Yeah.
And so, I told myself I was a waiter, but I had to get started. So I did the simplest, easiest, most accessible first step, right? I had a dictionary, pad of paper, and a pencil. They were in the house. I didn't have to overthink that, right? Stop overthinking.
Yeah.
Here's my advice for the day. Stop overthinking. And I went in the backyard. I wrote down the word aardvark. That was the first Pictionary word.
Yeah.
I still didn't have a plan, a goal, a dream, a product. I didn't know what I was doing, but I'd written a word. And now, instead of a waiter, I'm a game inventor.
Wow.
And that was the switch. That was the change. That was the mindset.
Yeah.
But I'm not strong enough willpower to just go from being a waiter to a game inventor.
Yeah.
I think it's difficult. Most of us, we're told we can be and do anything we want. Well, you can, but for me, it didn't happen right away. So I wrote the first word, and then I kind of went back to being a waiter in my head.
Okay.
You wrote a second word, a third word. So by the time I was done with the word list 3 months later, then I was a game inventor. All those little steps, all those little, encouragements of every word. Then I believed I was a game inventor. Then the process got started.
That's amazing story. Now you brought up one important point which I want to touch upon, which is you were not afraid to fail, and given that you were very young, do you think you could take the same gamble now? Like you have nothing to lose?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to bet the farm, as they say. I'm going to go all in, but I'm not going to fail and lose everything that I've built.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between going all in and taking care of what you have.
Yeah. So I want to draw a parallel there between a lot of people when they are young, they get started, and due to lack of experience or mindset, they fail. But as they grow older, around 35, 40, that inner entrepreneur wakes up again, and they want to do something. And now they have actually to lose something because they have built some sort of a career. And I find so many of these people who are, somewhere in that age range, and they want to do something. What kind of advice you can give them on overcoming this fear of betting the farm, if you will?
Don't bet the farm. I mean, I've never used that expression before, but it's true. So the fear of failure, or this great expression, it's not really the fear of the unknown or the fear of failure. It's the fear of giving up the known. It's fear of giving up your comfort zone. It's the fear of who you are now. I don't know what's going to happen out there. That's the scary part. It's this, where we are now is easy, so I'm going to stay right here. And so you take the baby steps. So they talk about passion. So you have an idea. You're 35 years old. You've got a family. You've got all these things, responsibilities you have to take care of. And so I really believe if you take a couple of steps, small steps, make a word list, do some research, get a GoDaddy URL, and then see it from there if you want to continue. I mean, Pictionary didn't start with, I'm going to make a game. It started with making a word list. So get over the notion, if you will, that you have to have passion and go all in to begin with. If I do, I think most of us are like, well, that's a lot to take on. I still got the family, I still got the stuff. So take those little steps and use your intuition. You'll know. We all know when it's time to go all in. I mean, it's your intuition. So don't.
You're absolutely right. Now, carrying that concept forward. So, you said that it took you a while, you built a list, it took 3 months. Was there like a moment, a Eureka moment or something that like sort of flipped the switch and you said, okay, yeah, I got it now?
I've got what now? I've got a lot of things.
So, let me put it this way, like, did you know that it was going to be this big? Did you have that vision?
It was down the road because I was so head down working on the product. It was all about Pictionary. It wasn't about me. It wasn't about my partners. It wasn't about our ego. It was about Pictionary. So we kind of kept our head down.
Yeah.
But once we started getting some sales, that's when I go, oh, okay, now wait a minute. This may have something. And for me, the moment was, it was about 2 years in, 2.5 years in. I'm in Paris, France. And our new marketing team, we're now an international company after less than 3 years. And I was tired and I went for a walk. And I come across a store. And in the window of this store on this street in Paris, France, is Pictionary in French.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, I think I'm on candid camera. I mean, I'm like, it's like aardvark all over again. I start sweating. Oh my God. And it was that moment where I thought, man, something a waiter, me, a kid from Spokane, Seattle, did is in a window in France. I mean, that was that otherworldly moment. Yeah. And I've had plenty of those moments since, but that was the first, like, wow. And it was big, and it could have been anyone or anything, but that was a big moment.
That's amazing. And one point you brought up was ego, and you work with partners, and I see this theme comes up again and again, where a lot of people have amazing ideas and they can do some amazing things, help people out and bring innovations, but the ego comes in the way. So have you first of all noticed that in other people, and how did you manage to overcome these tendencies that we all have, especially working with partners and teams?
Yeah, it's a tough subject because we all have ego, no matter what. But you have to, for the good of the business, for the good of the product, take your ego out of your decisions. So for us, we learned early on that nobody is going to respect and love Pictionary as much as we will.
Yeah.
People always wanted to change it. People wanted to do these things to it and make it different, but we didn't lose sight of our prime directive. And so when we made ego-based decisions, which there were plenty, we did our best to make the arguments, the fights, the discussions, the research, everything about Pictionary, not ourselves. So the big example of this was learned early on. The original box was blue with salmon lettering, right? Blue box. The graphic artist partner, Gary, spent months getting this perfect box with this perfect salmon. Terry, the accountant, goes for a press check. He changes it unilaterally to white. So it's no longer salmon. Oh no. He brings it back. My partner goes crazy. His ego is like, I designed this, I did this, and Terry's yelling at him, and I'm yelling at Gary because I agree with Terry. So finally, this guy's life's work is on the line. His ego is right there. And Terry said, take your ego out of the decision. Is the product better? Simple question. It was a simple question. Gary took a breath. He looked at it. And he goes, oh, man, it is better. It pops. I like it. End of story. Nice. That was it. Never came up again. We didn't have arguments about that again. And so it's hard. But when we focused on what was important. Yeah. And so our ego was not important. And there was a lot of decisions that allowed us to make some pretty quick and easy decisions because of that. That was huge. That's
great. And so along with the overcoming the ego part is, also gaining some market intelligence about your customers. And, these days it's easy. You can go to Facebook or run some ads or what have you. How did you do that? Like, did you do market research, and how did you conduct all this stuff? Like, how did it happen?
Well, Facebook, the internet didn't exist.
Yeah.
Right? But it almost doesn't matter. We relied on word of mouth and just play testing. Okay. We had to see if the product was any fun. So we did a prototype. We'd call some friends, give them a set of rules we thought were pretty good, and have them play. And we'd watch. And if they missed a rule, we'd take notes. If the board didn't work as we thought. So every time we'd play, we would fine-tune this and fine-tune that rule. And again, get back to taking your ego out. We didn't assume for a second that we knew everything. And so our market research was playing the game. Really what it was. No matter how your marketing is, no matter what your promotion is and Facebook, if you don't have a good product, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter. You can sell anybody once, you can't sell them twice.
that's
So,
that's
yeah, so it was
yeah,
a lot of hard work. I mean, every one of those first 1,000 games produced by hand,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like my children. I was very protective of them.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm like, do you have any of them left, or like, I'm sure they are worth a lot now.
Yeah, I have four that I know of the
Oh,
original 1,000, and
nice.
I know it because they're pink. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got them in storage locker, but they're hidden, and they'll go. I don't know, Smithsonian. Or,
yeah.
they're pretty cool to watch.
Awesome. That's great. And so another question I want to ask is like there are a lot of game inventors. I mean, Mattel, that you sold the company. I mean, they have come up with numerous games and
Yeah.
toys and everything, and a lot of people get scared of these big names. The big competition. Don't even enter that industry because they're gonna eat you alive. How like was there any fear of that in your mind when you were going through this?
No, because if you're talking games, there's a lot of room for growth. There's a lot of room to build a better mousetrap. It's not an exclusive club.
Okay.
Not one game is going to monopolize everything.
Uh-huh.
And so we worked our butts off. But having a marketplace that would allow the smaller company at not a lot of risk.
Yeah.
I mean, again, we're talking a pad of paper, a dictionary, and a pen.
Mm.
All was risking was time.
Nice.
And so we didn't really concern ourselves with it. And if we got down the line and all of a sudden we weren't successful, all right, we used up some time. We'll try something different. We'll try a different game or different product.
Yeah.
So there are industries where barriers to entry are huge. There's finance, there's capital, there's marketing. I mean, there are barriers.
Yeah.
Creating a game, there was no barrier. Still
Right.
isn't.
I think it's easy for you to say now that
Okay, that's true. That's true. That's true. Well, yeah, there was barriers. Actually, you're right. The barriers were more because we actually had to do it.
Yeah.
Now, in a very positive way, you can go to Kickstarter. There's websites where you can pick and plug and play your prototype and build it and be done with it in like a day.
Yeah.
I mean, ours took months. So there are advantages and disadvantages to both.
That's great. And now let's talk about your philosophy of open. So that's very intriguing, and I subscribe to it. And how did you come up with that, and how has it served you in your career?
Open is an acronym. I never say that.
Yeah,
Is an acronym, but it basically means just being curious. I'm always curious. It's being open to opportunities when they come. Because like when my roommate said, "Do you want to play a game?" Sure. That was just being open and curious to play a game. It wasn't open to try new business. I didn't see my future changing in that moment, but I've always been open. So when opportunities, whether it's business or a book or meeting somebody, it doesn't matter what, I don't judge before I get to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so if it's something that resonates, if it's a book or the game or something, I go, okay, maybe I'll take it to the next step. Maybe I'll go, okay, how's my energy feeling?
Yeah.
How does this feel right? And if it does, then I'll take action. But it's just about being curious. I call it open mind, open arms, and open heart.
That's
And I kind of go through life like this, my arms open, and I'm bumping into stuff all the time. I get bruised. But for me, that's okay. And so, yeah, being open, the magic happens. That's where opportunities happen. That's where luck happens. And it's just about being curious, not judging, and then taking action.
Yeah. So you take it all the way, like even on the micro decisions where somebody offers you a game that you have not heard of, and you say yes to that.
Yeah. They're not all Shark Tank moments.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Life is more than just Shark Tank moments.
Yeah, I think that's what people are always waiting for. That I'll only say yes to a Shark Tank moment or $10 million moment or whatever. So that's great. I think in this conversation we have answered this question, but I'd like to get your perspective on this. That you focus on a lot on overcoming your fears, and you preach that. And this is a famous thing that you say, find your artwork, and I guess we know where it comes from. But how do you actually help people get over their fears? Because we all live with fear at some level.
Yeah, I live with fear. I mean, nobody's exempt.
Yeah,
I mean, right now we're living in some pretty strange times.
Yeah, exactly.
The unknown for everybody, myself included. And so I don't look too far ahead, right? When I start looking down the road, we talk about those Shark Tank moments. Well, if I have a Shark Tank moment, it's going to put me over here. Oh, criminy, all the steps needed to get there.
Yeah.
And then I back off. So for me, fear is just taking little steps, little chunks of what's going on. It's easier for me to digest because I am afraid of stuff all the time.
I see.
I mean, I'm going to be judged. Even though I just said I don't judge, I have a fear of being judged. I mean, that's just human nature. I admit it.
Mm-hmm.
So I will put myself out there in little steps and not look too far ahead so I can find my passion, so I can find what I'm not afraid of.
Mm-hmm.
And the Pictionary didn't start with a big passion. I didn't wake up one day and go, ooh, I've got passion for board games. No, I didn't. Made the word list, got some partners, created some games, sold a few games. Now I'm starting to build a little passion. Now I'm starting to get rid of my fear. And for me, that works. That worked well.
Awesome. That's great. Let's talk about your book, Game Changer. So you have documented this journey, and tell us a little bit about that. Like,
you mean this one?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was fascinating to write this book. Originally, it was just so my kids knew what Daddy did. Seriously, it was like, they don't know what I went through, the struggles, the pluses, the minuses, the ups and downs. So I wanted them to know. But as I started writing the book, started about 6 years ago, I started connecting the dots. And so all these stories that I'm telling you, they were just my life.
Yeah.
I didn't connect the dots. I didn't know, well, because I did this happened. So it's been a fascinating journey. And so the book is pretty much wide open. I talk about my depression. I talk about failure. I talk about success. I talk about my life after selling the game. So it was really cool. And it's a really good book, and I'm really happy with it.
That's so it sounds like you through the process of writing the book, you almost went over a self-discovery tour.
Oh, didn't plan that. My goodness. It was like, and then we did this, and then we did. No, I tell you, it was amazing. And I kept growing with each year. Like I said, 6 years. With each book, or excuse me, each chapter, I kept growing, and I was learning about myself. And it was the best therapy I could ever have.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was really good. I'm real pleased with it. And it just showed me a lot about myself, who I am, what makes me tick, and so it was quite an adventure. One I'm glad I went on.
That's great. That's amazing. I'm glad that you did that and you discovered a lot of these things about yourself. It actually helps with a lot of understanding. So I share that passion about self-discovery. And regarding kids, I think if anybody can understand what the dad does, it will be your kids. I mean, my kids have no clue what the heck do I do to make a living.
And one of the things that about kids, about partners, about life is I had my daughter help me to edit the book. It was almost done.
Oh, I see.
And so it was almost done, but I wanted to get her take. But really what I wanted was to have her a part of the process.
Yeah.
And it gave her a whole new appreciation, not just from reading it, but from having her words in the book, which is great. It made us closer. But it's when you're in business or a relationship, people just want to feel heard. They just want to feel a part of the process. So when you have to pivot, when you have to change direction, when you have to come up with a new product, when you have to be creative, if somebody's invested and they feel that they were there and they are there at that moment, you're going to have better results, quicker results, more more creative results. So that was a big takeaway from that.
That's amazing. And now let's jump on to the next phase when you were selling the game to Mattel. And what was that experience like, walking into the building? And I'm sure something to remember. Yeah, anything that you can remember from that moment?
Oh, like it was yesterday. A quick behind, a big aside, is that we had a deal. We had a license. So back in '86, we were too big, too quick. We couldn't scale, and so we had to license, which is basically somebody does manufacturing. They pay us a royalty. They pay us a check. And here I am, 26 years old, making $500 a month. Mm-hmm. I am driving a 10-year-old car, and I've got nothing. We had a deal with Milton Bradley for a licensing deal. They gave us the biggest royalty rate they've ever given, and all these guarantees, except the one thing they wouldn't guarantee is they wouldn't touch packaging without our approval.
I see.
Right? And so here I am, 26. All I have to do is sign this piece of paper, and I'm a millionaire. But I didn't sign it. My partners didn't want to sign it because it wasn't aligned with our vision. It didn't align with our mindset of what Pictionary could be. And I was willing to go back to waiting tables.
Wow.
Standing on my principles, just cause, as Simon Sinek calls it, to not give up on what I knew was right. Yeah. 3 weeks later, we got a bigger, better deal.
Wow.
But, yeah, I know, right? It was fortuitous. The universe provided in that moment. Yeah. But don't give up on your ideas, right? So people say all the time, you got to pivot. You're pivoting. But now we're changing. We're growing. The fear of the unknown. I look at it now like a basketball player. So playing a game, he gets the ball and he pivots, right? If you know basketball, he has one foot firmly planted and then he can move around from there. Somebody gets in his way, another team, he can turn another direction. Yeah. And then he can turn another direction. But the whole point of it is he's anchored with that one leg. So when you pivot, when you're afraid of the unknown, when you have to figure new things out, just remember who you are. Stay true to your core values. And that pivot foot will help you turn around and make those decisions. So you're not giving up. You're not giving up who you are when you go a different direction. On the contrary, you're staying who you really are. You're staying true to yourself and making those decisions moving forward in all kinds of different directions. They'll be okay.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it takes the courage to say no to millions of dollars waiting tables. Like,
yeah. There was a couple of moments like, what are you doing, man?
Yeah.
I'd love to tell you it was like all really beautiful, but no, it was like, what have you done? Yeah. But it was the right decision.
Yeah, for sure. Now I still want to go to the Mattel store. Like, how did that come about, and what was that experience like?
To be honest, it was time. Mm-hmm. I'd done Pictionary for about 20 years, 19 years, and okay, I mean, I don't usually say my passion started to fade. Yeah. I mean, I had a new family, and it was time for me to move on. And an opportunity came up, the license was available, and it was hard though. I mean, it was like a part of my life for 20 years. This wasn't cavalier. It was like, oh man, it's time. I had to wrap my head around that. I had to have a whole new mindset of I'm no longer a game inventor. I'm no longer an entrepreneur. I'm selling the game. But it was the right decision, the right time for it to happen, and it was bittersweet to say the least. I mean, it was like propping me up for all those years. I'm like wobbling when we signed the paperwork, but it was the right choice at the right time. Felt from the inside out.
Awesome, that's
the right thing to do.
I hope Mattel keeps the core values the same as they go on with the game. So
I appreciate that. Me too. I appreciate that.
Now, how, like, obviously, you've had so much success, and how do you keep going still? Like, you're writing a book now, and you're doing all these things, and speaking, and sharing your wisdom with others. How do you keep going? Because a lot of people, they just say, I've got a home run. I'm gonna go to the beach and just sip some margarita or whatever. How do you keep going?
Little rosé for me. That's okay. Okay, I'll be honest. I mean, there was a few years where I did that.
I see.
I mean, I sold the game, was raising my family, but I did what nourished me. So when I sold the game in 2001, I didn't do what everybody else said I should do. Rob, you got to invent another game. You've got to do another product. You got to do another business.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I don't.
yeah.
I figured out what nourished me: nonprofits, raising my kids, mentoring, giving back, all these things, travel. So all these things for quite a while were pretty good. I mean, I felt really fulfilled. Now I've written the book and I'm back on a new journey. I mean, I'm telling you, I'm finding my aardvark again. So there's always finding new aardvarks because I don't know what this next part looks like. And I'm excited to find out. I'm taking little steps. I'm dipping my toe in on my my website, all my social media, the Rob Angel, just quick plug, of course. But I don't know what's going to happen. My voice just went up. I don't know what's going to happen. But it's fun to find out. So I'm taking these little steps. And then when I find my sweet spot, I find my passion, then I'll go all in again. So this is fun times. This is really fun times for me.
Awesome. Now, let's talk about a little bit about failure. And I'm sure you've had your share of failure. So can you tell us how do you deal with that? Because a lot of people are dealing with that right now with the global pandemic and everything. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of fear. But failure is something that, that is sort of, when people think they have failed, it is actually an event validating their fear, right? It's like, I knew this was going to happen, So how do you overcome that?
Oh, it's hard. I mean, I'd love to sit here and give you the magic bullet. I know the answer to how to get over your fear. I don't. But I do know failure is going to happen. It's a mindset for me, is when it happens. I love what you just said. For me, it's not a validation that I was right. It's validation that I went the wrong direction. That's all. And there's little failures too. We're not talking the failure of your company or your business, the failure of not finishing a book. I mean, that was a terrible example, but there's a lot of little failures, but just know they're going to happen. And so when they do, it's like, oh, all right, that didn't work out. Yeah. I'm going to pivot on my foot again, and I'm going to see what's next. I'm going to wait for the next failure. Oh, shoot. How do I find you? Where are you? Back? Oh, my goodness, that's funny.
That's amazing.
I lost you, man.
All right.
No, I'll come back. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, there you are. Oh, gosh. Darn it.
We are still here.
Oh, all right. There you go.
So, John, you've turned your book, Better Selling Through...
Sorry about that, guys.
No, it's all right.
Oh, there you go. Ta-da.
Yeah, there you go. See,
so my next lesson, who out there knows how to help a tech challenged game inventor?
Yeah, no. Well, you recovered very quickly, so that's impressive.
But see, I don't get stressed. Yeah, I was a little hyper trying to make sure I found it, but again, failure happens. I didn't, if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. I don't make mistakes that are going to change my life.
Yeah.
I don't make a failure. If I fail at something, I failed at maybe a small investment. I failed at starting a business. I failed at trying to get something started. But I never, and have never done this even with Pictionary, failed. If there's a failure, it's going to affect my family. It's going to affect my lifestyle. It's going to affect everything. And that's one of the other reasons failure doesn't frighten me.
Yeah.
So, my ego may get bruised a little bit.
Yeah.
I may lose some time.
Yeah.
But I don't get too concerned because I know it's not going to be the end of the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. And this tech issue was just your demonstration of how to overcome failure, right?
I think that's more of a hiccup than a failure. Yeah.
And what was I going to say? and you pointed it out earlier. Don't bet the farm. Manage your risk when you're making these bets. So that's advice. Well, I know you're short on time, and this was an amazing conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your life story and Pictionary. Spreading this joy around the world. A lot of people have fun playing that game. Now let's plug your social media handles, and how can people reach out to you?
I'm on all the usual social media. The Rob Angel, at the Rob Angel, robangel.com is my website. And yeah, I just started throwing things out. You can find me there. You can buy a book on Amazon, or you can buy the book on autographed book on robangel.com. But just, my advice is just relax. Know things aren't going to go well, and be positive. Try to stay as positive as you can. Take those little steps, and the world will be okay. May take a little while, but we'll be okay.
That's great advice. Thank you so much. Well said. And we'll add those links to the show notes so that people can connect with you. Thank you once again.
Thank you. It was fun.